a lot of people talk about DJU. Now, one of the things that I think Jordan Travis did a tremendous job of was not turning the ball over. He was 20 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. That's insane to even think about it. DJU, I believe the last 2 years has been 20 to 21 and 6 to 7 interceptions. If Mike Norvell can shave off 2 of those interceptions and add 3 more touchdowns, you're talking about a guy who's on Jordan Travis production level. Now, before you say, well, James, what is that? That's crazy. Well, as far as cumulative yards, Jordan Travis finished 46th on the season. DJU finished 53rd. Jordan Travis finished 46th on the season with 3 guys who are in the NFL that he threw to. Excuse me, 4 if you include the running back. Oregon State's top wide receiver transferred last year right along with DJU, and Martinez is at Miami. So like, if you want to say that Florida State had better talent last year, then one could deduce that DJU should be, and that Mike Norvell knows how to scheme it up. Then one should be a little bit more optimistic about DJU if you believe that Florida State has better talent than Oregon State, and you believe that Mike Norvell can dial it up. You can't say those things, that FSU has more talent than Oregon State and Mike Norvell can dial it up, and then still use DJU, who numerically isn't that far off from what you had last year, is going to just be a bust. Like, it's just, I think sometimes all of us, we talk so much through social media that we forget what we're actually talking about. And we're just saying things just to sound different or unique. And I think, from right now, if he stinks it up against Georgia Tech, then you change the narrative. But there's nothing right now to show Florida State fans that they should be in a panic. They should be in panic mode. Will they go 13-0? Man, a lot got to go right for you to go 13-0. Hell, a lot had to go right this year for us to go 13-0 when you lost your quarterback, with 2.5 games left on the season. But I think Florida State should, again, I feel like I'm weird, and I hope I'm right. I think I'm going to be right, because if I'm not, I'm probably going to be the only person that everybody attacks, because I'm one of the few, outside of George and Chris, so we're one of the few people who are actually optimistic about what the season is going to look like.
And some of that perception about DJ versus Jordan Travis might be where they came from, meaning where they came from in terms of expectations. DJU is coming from a 5-star level with all these expectations that he's just going to step in for Trevor Lawrence and be Trevor Lawrence. Jordan Travis was walking into the Florida State situation as a transfer from Louisville, and he looked like a running back trying to play quarterback initially, and he improved, got better and better and better. So they arrived at the end of their careers in different ways.
They want to judge Jordan Travis off of the ultimate quarterback he became under Mike Norvell, Tony Tokar's, Alex Atkins tutelage. They don't want to judge, Jordan Travis, his early career, where he came from and everything else. But like you said, since DJU was that guy, they hold it against him. But when you look at the evidence, as a sophomore, as a junior, he's what was keeping all that crap together. Like, when he left Clemson, it killed him. We saw it. Like, they stunk last year. It all fell apart. I believe somebody did a stat over like the past 3 seasons. They've had 14 games that were, quote unquote, past a certain threshold of quarterback play on the plus or minus type scale. 9 of those games were DJU, and only 5 of them were from Klubnik. And it's just, it just goes to show you any way you want to look at it. The dude is a damn good quarterback and has been for quite a while. 3-to-1 touchdown ratio is nothing to sneeze on. James and me are always saying it. I also want to expect Mike Norvell and them not to be able to do anything with him, to be able to improve him with the coaching he got. We talked about it on the roast. Dabo Swinney had 5 of his cousins on his offensive staff. People who never did fight. It's nuts.
Well, Trevor Lawrence and Clemson also benefited from having incredible wide receiver play. Clemson's wide receivers have been down. So I'm not even going to bash Cade Klubnik. They haven't had the wide receivers that they had when they made that incredible run with Dabo. Now, the running back was actually really, really good. And that's who actually really was killing us and almost killed us last year in the passing game and the running game. But the other thing, too, is Clemson had 2 major departures that really hurt them. And it's still hurting them to this day right now. They had 2 co-OCs. One handled all the recruiting in Tampa, where he was getting all the top wide receivers, and the other one was the X's and O guy, Tony Elliott, and I can't remember the other guy's name for the life of me. But one ended up being the coach at Virginia, one ended up being the coach in South Florida. When those 2 guys left, you saw a marked dip in Clemson's production on offense. Like, that's where I think, again, it's an argument, but it's an unfair argument. Like, DJU had to have transitions that not very many people had to go through. I believe if he had both of those guys, you would have a little bit of a different flavor to Clemson's offense. And I think a lot of it had to do with the most popular, one of the phrases I remember in college, the most popular person on campus, whether it's a winning team or a bad team, is the backup quarterback. He's always the life of the party when you're winning, and when you're losing, he's always the hope. They were just, I'll say they were mid in comparison to what they were. And Cade came in and had a great ACC championship. But once people got film on Cade, all of that went out the window. Cade has not been what they thought the DJ replacement would have been, which, again, I'm not here to argue all those, like, to argue for Clemson. I'm here to say, like, DJ wasn't just bad in the vacuum. There was a lot of things that came along that, again, at the end of the day, they are excuses, but there are things that can, like, okay, naturally, I can see how the offensive progression could go down when it comes to those manners with coaches that aren't as good. And what Dabo tried to do was he tried to replace 2 really good OCs in-house as opposed to going out-house. And then when he did go out last year, and this will be my defense of Cade Klubnik, is you actually did hire a good OC, but you didn't let that OC. You wanted him to run the offense that he's not familiar with, which is your Clemson offense, which is why you saw at times Clemson did not look competent on offense.
All fair. I think the issue, the negative connotation that sticks to DJU, people, like, I don't know, people don't want to accept that the coaching was part of it. They just want to be able to point at something as to why it's not anymore. And they pointed at DJU, and that's just kind of what stuck. But we don't need DJU to be Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. That's what Clemson needs out of Cade Klubnik, the way that program was set up and that offense, developed over the years, and that's what they had. They couldn't get over the hump with Taj Boyd. We saw that. They got Deshaun, they got Lawrence, and, they got over the hump. They went on a crazy run, and they had the coaches, everything together. We don't need DJU to be all that. We need him to be a playmaker, and like I've talked about a lot, 3,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, however you get there, that's enough to take you a long way. So I'm excited. I think Mike Norvell and his ability to scheme stuff, Tony Tokars and Alex Atkins developing quarterbacks and everything, it's just a bit underrated. If he was going out to USC, if Lincoln Riley would have took him, there would be this, oh shit, DJU is about to do this and do that. But, he'll get there. And I think this year will go a long ways. It's going to surprise a lot of people, and hopefully me, James, Chris, and the other supporters out there, Jen, who has been just absolutely in love with DJU from the very beginning, look like we had some sense when it's all said and done.